Hey guys, this is Kai from WCC, and today we're going to be talking about one of the most interesting decks in Standard at the moment, and that is Gear Chronicle. Now, why should we talk about Gear Chronicle? It's like an old deck. What has changed that makes me want to talk about this deck? Well, right now the meta has changed. This is just before Bermuda Triangle, so the big dogs of the meta is Murakumo and Shadow Paladin. Now, with Gear Chronicle, you absolutely just don't care about Murakumo, okay? They can't use any of their gimmicks to beat you, like Ride Lock or Stun, because you just fake stride your way out of that, and then you get a billion power, you get Vanguard pressure with crits for Mystery Flare, and you just absolutely just pulverize Murakumo after just a few rides, right? And then with Gust Blaster Dragon for Shadows, they can't actually damage deny you. Well, they can, but it doesn't do much, because this entire deck hardly requires any counterblasts. The only thing that needs counterblasts is Lost Legend. So if they don't give you anything, you can still play your game. And then when they finally give you some damage, you just get a plus from it, right? You just draw one card. So this deck doesn't care about that damage deny game. And then against other clans now, other clans have got crit vanguards like Royal Paladin with Modok Sanctuary. You don't care about that too, because yeah, you don't need counterblast. Another thing with the deck is that once it gets going, you actually draw quite a bit of cards because you don't use as many cards from your hand as you would think you would because of Idealized Dragon. So your hand is massive against things like OTT, Angel Feather, those big protect finishers. You can actually tank your way through a few of those finishers. You just don't feel bad, and then just finish them off with your own finisher. So let's take a look at this deck again, alright? Let's take a look at Gear Chronicle and maybe what has evolved since its original inception into the game. So this is a pretty standard Gear Chronicle deck. Unfortunately, with Gear Chronicle, there is not many variations in what kind of cards you can put in the deck, because there's a lot of cards that you really need, and then the rest of the cards are just super jank. So we'll start off with the grade zeros. The trigger lineup is 8 crit and 4 draws. A lot of people were thinking of putting more draws in because your grade 3 lineup and your overall grade composition is very wonky, but extra draws in this deck actually lead to a lot of deck out. So I want the crits in the game to speed up the game to the point where my force markers and my insane amounts of power that you actually get with this deck become relevant. So I'm putting in 8 crits. Now you're gonna see the grade 1s. You're like, 9 grade 1s? Are you crazy? And yeah, you are crazy, alright? You have to run 8 grade 4s. You don't have the spots to put in this deck for like a standard lineup, especially when your grade 2s are so valuable. So you have to sacrifice your grade 3s and your grade 1s. The big change that you can probably do is you can +1 memes and minus one of your grade 2s, which will likely be Lipit or Nabu, but I opted to keep that core. But you can't get rid of the wedge move. You can't get rid of your quickie wicker, because those are core to this deck. Stride fodder, this recycles grade 4s. You don't want to be without this card. So you only get to play 1 meme, alright? Or Mina meme, but she's just memes, alright? Because yeah, if you draw it early, it can kind of just help you get the stuff you need. That's about it. But you don't want to keep on drawing every turn, because you actually do deck out with this deck. It's insane, alright? Grade 2s, you've got your Lost Break Dragon, that stays, does everything you want, binds cards from your hand, draws a card. Lipit binds cards, Nabu binds cards. Be careful with Nabu though, you have to draw that effect if you attack with it. So if you're in a deck out situation, just be wary about the number of cards in your deck. But yeah, all of them bind. You need to hit those specific bind numbers for your game to be palatable. Grade 3s and 4s, Lost Legend or bust, literally. And then you're running 8 grade 4s, because you need to have an easy time just binding. So how do you actually play this deck? So there are key number of binds numbers that you need to reach, like the added up grade count you need to reach, and that is 7, because that gives you a crit for your Mystery Flare. You need 11, because that gives you the super plus for your Idealize, and then 19, because that is like one of your best finishes in the game. That just seals the game for you. Apart from that, you need like 4 for your, no, sorry, you need 3 for your mystery flare to get the triple drive. And that's pretty much it. But you usually get that off, not a problem, unless your hand totally bricks. With this deck, you will likely lose because you just get grade stuck. That's just unlucky. That's part of the deck. Otherwise, if you don't get grade stuck, you usually have an amazing game. Be aggressive with binding. If your first stride, you hit a 7 bind mystery flare, that is perfect. Your opponent definitely has to guard that unless they're at like 1 or 2. But yeah, 7, you want to hit that early as possible. You can be free in binding because you are running 8 grade 4s. Before in the old builds, people maybe ran like 6 grade 4s. They ran like 2 idealize or something like that. But then you're a bit more limited in what you can bind, and then you never really hit those bind numbers at the timings that you want. So be aggressive with your binds, especially if you're grade stuck. If you're grade stuck, still be aggressive with binding your cards, because when you first stride again, after you finally draw your Lost Legend, maybe you had like a really bad time and it's like 2 turns where you just never G-assisted your grade 3. You want to hit a big number, right? If your first stride is 11 like binded idealize, you're back in the game. You get full field for free. If your first stride is even like 19 bind, then you could probably just steal the game from there. So be aggressive with your binding, even when you're grade stuck. If you are grade stuck, don't try to be fancy. Don't go like, oh, I'll just not G-assist this turn because I'm going first, so I have like another turn to do something that I can like hopefully draw. Don't do that. Whatever you do, don't do that. Aggressively G-assist for your next grade, or otherwise you just might just get stuck forever and they'll just feel bad. So with this deck, yeah, not much you can change from it in my opinion, just because the cards themselves, the card quality is not great. But be aggressive with your binding. Don't be afraid. One thing that people said before is that they felt Idealize is not that great compared to Mystery Flare. And it's true. It's not that amazing unless you have 11 cards in your bind. So definitely keep on going for... Get that 11 bind as soon as possible. Get off that Idealize. Like at least just one Idealize of an 11 bind puts you in a great position. So don't just aggressively... Like, this is what I'm just going to say in the entire video. Aggressively bind your grades. At some point, you're going to face against any clan. They just can't stop. They can't stop your Mystery Flare because you're just going to get another turn. Against Protects, that's what you're looking for. And then against other decks, you most likely just are going to steamroll them if you hit your grade 3. If you liked playing Luard in Premium, this is the deck for you because you just naturally draw your grade 3s like a boss. So maybe this is a third deck for Springfest. If you're thinking of taking like, you don't know what your third deck's going to be, this could be a choice. So I hope you guys get the luck you need to not screw yourself and brick. And I'll see you guys in the next video.